All right, guys. So as I've been telling you over the past few days or so, ever since we got the ruling from Judge Scott McAfee allowing Fani Willis to stay on the Trump RICO case, but she has to kick off Nathan Wade because of the odor of mendacity, aka she's a liar. Okay. However, the judge didn't have the stones, he didn't have the cojones to do the right thing. I've been telling you guys it's not over yet, okay, because there are going to be appeals. You have the Republicans who set forth this new law, this new motion that could investigate Fani Willis and remove her from the case. There are a lot of things that can happen moving forward to continue to delay this trial or to potentially get Fani Willis kicked off the case altogether. Now, my bet is that something will happen, okay? I don't know exactly what it's going to be. However, I don't think that this case is going to go to trial before the election, which is what they want, right? That's what she wants more so than anything, because the whole point of this case is not the legitimacy of it. Trump didn't commit any crimes. They're simply trying to rig the outcome of the 2024 election by using the legal system to do so, right? This is lawfare against Trump. So Trump is fighting back, okay, with his own team of lawyers. I must say, I'm actually most impressed with this team of lawyers that he's put together when it comes to his Georgia case, because, again, they have successfully humiliated Fani Willis and forced Nathan Wade off the case, okay? They have permanently damaged her reputation to the point that she is a liability in regards to her staying on the case, and it could ruin it in the long run. But like I said, there's a lot of things they can do to continue to delay or to kick her off, and one of them is to appeal. And they have officially filed a motion to appeal in an effort to have her kicked off the case and have the case dismissed altogether. Take a look.
Filing to appeal tonight, former President Donald Trump and 7 co-defendants have filed a new motion against the decision to keep DA Fani Willis on the Fulton County election interference case. And tonight we're going to be digging into the new filing and how it may impact the timeline of the trial and the upcoming presidential election.
11 Alive's Teresa Bowles is live now from the Fulton County Courthouse. And Teresa, you spoke with a legal expert tonight about what happens next. What did they have to say?
Guys, I learned that it's possible this move could delay the progress of the case, but it doesn't have to. It all depends on what Willis decides to do and how fast she does it. Yet another hangup in the Georgia 2020 election interference case, an appeal.
The former president and his co-defendants have a right to ask to appeal the decision. They don't have a right to appeal it because it's before trial.
Georgia State University law professor Clark Cunningham says there's a process to this. To move forward, the defendants have to ask the judge to issue a certificate for immediate appeal and get it granted.
Then they have to persuade the Georgia Court of Appeals to take it.
Even if they all agree, Cunningham says it's still going to take time, so he suggests Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis start the trial as soon as possible because time is ticking.
If she loses the appeal, then she and her team are off the case. But there also is a new commission that the governor signed into law on the 13th that will probably start investigating her and has the power to remove her.
The other option is for Willis to take a leave of absence.
I think it's much less likely that the appeal would go forward, and it would greatly simplify things.
If not, Cunningham says if former President Donald Trump were to be elected again before the trial, he can go to federal court and ask for an order to put a stop to state prosecution as long as he's president. If he wins, then there will be a 4-year hold. Trump can't pardon himself for state crime, but the federal cases can go away. So everything is weighing on the Georgia case and the voters' eyes on the screens.
And all of us can basically sit in the jury box and watch the evidence as it comes in. That could make a huge difference. It could determine who our next president is.
Yeah, and again, that's the whole point, right? Is to help determine who the next president is going to be. They're trying to rig it in the favor of Democrats, of Joe Biden. And this is a part of that. So again, if you guys don't understand what needs to happen next, essentially, they are putting in a request for immediate appeal with the judge. Okay, we'll see if the judge has the stones to grant them that. And then we have to see if the appeals court will take the case. Meanwhile, Fani Willis, she could make her life a whole lot easier by putting her ego aside and simply just stepping back from the case, taking a leave of absence and letting her office move forward with it without her. And that would basically make it less likely that Trump's appeal will work. However, I don't think that's going to happen, okay, because I think Fani Willis has too much pride and ego to do that. Also, on top of that, she probably has people in her ear telling her, no, it's not your fault, okay? You are not responsible for your own actions because you're a black woman, and therefore you must get a pass on clear and obvious corruption and stupidity, really, because that's really what a lot of this was. On top of just corruption, it was just stupidity. So yeah, I don't think she actually thinks that she's in the wrong, okay? And because of that, she's probably going to stay on the case and keep moving forward with it, even if it puts the case in jeopardy, because her ego is too big. And one of the reasons why her ego is so big and why, you know, she is not humbling herself and probably stepping back from the case, which would be best for the case altogether, is because of guys like this, right? Simps like this. Black men who basically coddle black women and their egos and don't hold them accountable for their actions, which I think is the reason why we have so many issues. Okay, when you talk about the problems in the black community, a lot of it comes from the fact that, again, we allow black women to basically run our neighborhoods, and we never hold them accountable when they're wrong. Okay, in fact, we embolden them by telling them that they're queens and that, you know, they never do anything wrong and it's everybody else's fault and it's never their fault, right? And that's essentially what this guy is going to do. And he's a perfect example of what I call a weak man, right? A weak black man that is, again, part of the problem, right? Part of the reason why we're in the situation that we're in, because he's going to react to all of the criticisms against Fani Willis, and he's going to scream about racism and sexism instead of holding her accountable for the situation that she put herself in. So without further ado, let's get into it.
This Washington Post article is pointing out, Charles, that race is an ever-present source of tension in the case, and it highlights not just racial harassment and threats against her. The Post quotes one of Willis's senior deputies writing, quote, "We are both aware, especially as African-American women, some find it difficult to treat us respectfully." Trump's lawyer, Steve Sadow, described that email as, quote, "offensive, uncalled for, and untrue." But I want your read on what's playing out there.
Yeah, so again, these people have been playing a race card for the longest time, right? They was playing a race card when Trump's legal team was asking them to be professional about responding to emails, right? They was like, well, you can't talk to a black woman like that, right? This is what they did. You also have, Fani Willis in the church, okay? Talking about how the accusations are against her because she's black, because Nathan Wade's a black man, playing a race card. Again, anytime you ask these people to be professional, right, or just to be normal human beings, or to try to hold them accountable for anything, again, they play the race card. It's despicable, it really is. And people are getting fed up with this, man. This trick is getting old, and it's not working anymore. Again, it's part of the reason why Trump is surging so much. It's part of the reason why MAGA is surging so much. People are sick and tired of the nonsense when it comes to the race hustling in this country.
I'm so glad you asked this question, Alex, because this entire ordeal with Fani Willis represents the intersection between race and gender in the professional space. And it highlights the fact that no matter how hard you work, if you are a woman, if you are a black woman, there are certain things that you will have to navigate that you would not have if you were a white man, for example. There is a level of privilege that is enjoyed here, and that's simply undeniable. For Steve Sadow, for as accomplished and respected an attorney as he may be, to simply scoff and dismiss that is a level of privilege to sort of overlook how these things play out in ways that he may not simply be able to see because of his own blind spots. At the end of the day, trying to understand parts of what it is to be discriminated against, what it is to face things that other people don't face. When you are not a part of a particular group, you give that group the benefit of the doubt. So if you're not a woman, you cannot necessarily tell a woman what is or is not sexism if you haven't necessarily experienced it. It's very difficult for you to call something not racist if you're not someone who's ever experienced what racism actually feels like. And so,
wow, incredible. Incredible. I mean, so many ignorant things. First and foremost, just because you're white, that doesn't mean that you haven't experienced racism. Okay, white people can experience racism. I don't care what a woke revolutionaries say. White people can, in fact, experience racism. In fact, I would say that if you're white and you're watching MSNBC, you probably do experience quite a bit of racism on a day-to-day basis, right? If you want to experience some racism as a white person, just watch MSNBC, okay? I'm just saying. Or put it this way, racist commentary, okay? Second of all, again, this is what they do in order to excuse this type of behavior. Basically, what he's saying is that, well, you cannot criticize anybody that is a so-called person of color or that is a woman if you're not a person of color or if you're not a woman, okay? You can't say that what they're saying is not racist or sexist because you are not them, okay? You don't have the characteristics that they have, okay? And because you don't have those characteristics, therefore, you can't say that Fani Willis is full of shit when she cries racism about the fact that people are calling her out about sleeping with the special prosecutor that she hired to after Trump and then paying him more money than everybody else, despite the fact that he's underqualified, okay? You can't say anything about that while she uses the race card to defend herself, right? So Fani Willis is allowed to use the race card and say, well, you're racist for criticizing me. But you can't question that because she's a black woman, right? You're sexist because you're criticizing me, okay? And you can't defend that. You can't push back against that because, again, she's a woman. You can't say, well, no, it's not sexism. It's because you are corrupt, because you got caught, essentially ruining a man's marriage, helping him cheat on his wife. No, it's not any of that, okay? And see, this is the problem with these type of guys. They think they're helping black people, but they're actually hurting black people. He's really helping himself more so than anything because, again, this type of deflection, the racism, sexism deflection helps people like him. So when he F's up, because he's not qualified to be in a position that he's in, okay, the only reason he's doing this segment is because he's black. That's it, right? There's no other reason why they have him up there, right? When he actually faces legitimate criticism, he can then throw out the race card and say, well, you can't criticize me unless you're racist, okay? But see, that actually really hurts black people in the long run because the general public can see how incompetent somebody like Fani Willis is. I mean, she's so incompetent that she got 6 or so charges thrown out simply because they were too vaguely worded, right? She could not articulate why she was charging this individual and what specific crimes were committed in a way that allowed the defense to intelligently defend themselves. So the judge threw it out. I mean, she made a mistake that was so basic that even CNN was roasting her for it. That's the type of incompetence that we have here, okay? And that type of incompetence is an embarrassment towards black people. It makes black people look bad. It makes the next black person that's trying to get in that type of position of power that actually really is qualified, that is head and shoulders above all his peers, they're going to get questioned. Right? Their credentials are going to be questioned and say, well, I don't think you're really qualified, right? Or they're going to say, well, you might be a diversity hire or you may be affirmative action because we've seen black people that get into these positions of power. Usually they're not very good, right? And again, that's the problem. But see, if you actually criticize Fani Willis appropriately, like you should, if you come out here and you say, well, yeah, she ain't got no business on this case. She was stupid. What she did basically jeopardized the case. She's clearly unqualified. You get her ass out of there. You can actually really start to punish these individuals and get them out of positions of power that they don't belong in. That way, the next black person that comes up that tries to get in that position of power, they're probably going to be more qualified, okay? Because you're not going to stay in that position unless you're qualified. And there's going to be a lot more credibility behind that person. But allowing people like Fani Willis to just get away with clear and obvious corruption, clear and obvious incompetence, it just makes black people look bad. It makes us look incompetent. It looks like we can't be in these positions of power. And the same thing goes for all these woke mayors, these black mayors that are running these liberal cities, okay? I mean, is it a coincidence that you got Eric Adams running New York into the ground, Brandon Johnson running Chicago into the ground, Karen Bass in LA, London Breed in San Francisco? Is it really a coincidence that you have all these individuals that have these similar characteristics, all Democrats, right? Running these cities into the ground. You think that's good for the long-term prospects of so-called black people, so-called people of color trying to get into positions of power? I don't think so. I actually think it hurts black people in the long run. But again, guys like this are too stupid to realize it, okay? Again, I'm pretty sure this guy is the bottom in his relationship, right? I'm pretty sure this guy is definitely the submissive one in his relationship, no doubt.
While I do understand why Steve Sadow may have sort of been offended by it, at the end of the day, it truly is undeniable that the way that Fani Willis has had her reputation and her integrity challenged, and the manner in which this has gone on, has from its very start been fueled by white nationalism through the rhetoric of none other than Donald Trump. Look at his attacks.
Wow, incredible stuff, right? So again, it wasn't all the things that Fani Willis got caught doing, okay? She admitted to sleeping around with this guy. The judge, again, saw that way. She might have lied on the oath, okay? I mean, this woman clearly and obviously is in a position where there's some impropriety here. So we got to remove Nathan Wade. Okay, if Fani Willis is so innocent, why did Nathan Wade have to go? If she's so innocent, why did the judge rule that Nathan Wade had to go or she goes? Again, is that white supremacy too? Is the judge a white supremacist? I'm just saying. Again, no accountability for Fani Willis whatsoever. Everything is Trump's fault. Well, it's white nationalism is the reason why her reputation got destroyed. Wasn't anything that she did. Wasn't her sleeping around with a married man, right? Throwing her fanny back, going on trips, paid for by taxpayer dollars. Wasn't any of that. Wasn't her incompetence. Again, this is silly, man. It's embarrassing.
On Alvin Bragg, look at his attacks on Letitia James, look at his attacks on Fani Willis, and contrast those to the things that he said about Jack Smith. One, they're attacking his professional acumen. The other is their humanity and their qualifications, which is a professional insult and very offensive. All of those things are rooted in white nationalism and speak to the very point that Fani Willis was making about that intersection of race and gender.
Wow, these are the worst type of guys. Again, it's guys like this, it's weak men like this. This is the downfall of society right here, right? This type of weakness, this type of simping for women who are clearly corrupt, who are clearly in the wrong. This is how we get the downfall of our society, okay? When they say weak men create hard times, this is the type of individual they're talking about right here, a weak man, because that's what this is. This is weakness. That's what this is.
Thank you for that well-spoken reality check. I appreciate you and all of that. Thank you, Charles Coleman.
Of course, she can't respond, right? She can't respond because she's a white liberal woman. So if she was to push back against that lunacy, she would be smeared as a racist, right? And that's basically the status quo on MSNBC, right? Bring these radicalized individuals on their network to spew all of these talking points while the white liberals listen and never push back on the insane race baiting statements that they're making that have no basis in reality whatsoever. It's really a damn shame the network that MSNBC has become. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.